All right, the state can call its first witness.
Thank you. If I may go get him. Irwin Wierzbicki.
All right, sir, you're going to come up right here. My clerk will swear you in right here.
W-I-E-R-Z-B-I-C-K-I.
And your first name?
I-R-W-I.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're going to have a seat up here.
Sir, would you please tell the jury your name?
My name's Sergeant Irwin Wierzbicki. I work for the Chandler Police Department.
How long have you worked for the Chandler Police Department?
June will be 10 years.
Did you have any prior law enforcement experience?
I had 10 years in Illinois.
Back on July 11th of 2019, what were your duties at that time?
I was working as a patrol officer, I believe in Beat 18.
And what were your hours?
0600 to 1600.
Is that 6 a.m.?
6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Yes.
Thank you. Were you dispatched to a residence at 5531 South Four Peaks Place in Chandler, Maricopa County, Arizona?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were you dispatched for?
It was a shooting.
Were you the first on the scene when you arrived?
I
What
was,
did you
ma'am.
see? Okay. What were you wearing at the time?
I was in full patrol uniform.
Does the Chandler Police Department, back then, did they have body-worn camera?
They did.
And can you describe where that was and how that works?
I believe back then I wore it on my left shoulder.
Okay. And how does it get activated?
You have to press a button and it'll turn it on.
Does it normally record audio?
Yes.
And did you have that on and did you activate it when you arrived to this scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Were there other officers on scene at some point when you got there?
After I arrived, yes.
Fire said it was 760, so I pulled the printer to see if I could get.
Sorry about that.
What other officers arrived on scene?
Right after I arrived, Officer Krautheim arrived.
Can you describe to us sort of what happened as you get to the scene? How did you and Officer Krautheim handle the situation?
When I was getting out of the car, I believe the gentleman that called in was still on the phone, and we advised dispatch to tell him to come out with nothing in his hands except his phone. As he opened up or came out the front door, I started giving him commands. That was what I wanted him to do.
So you're talking with dispatch. Is that the same as 911?
Yeah, it's the same dispatch center.
So is the person who's talking to the 911 person then just relaying information to you?
Yes,
Okay. So you're able to tell that tell dispatch to tell the person to come out?
yes,
Did you and Officer Krautheim have someone come out?
yes.
Can you describe for us the person's demeanor as they're first exiting?
He was very nonchalant, very compliant with us.
Okay. You said he still had his phone?
Yes,
Do you recall if his other hand was up?
I do not recall.
Okay. Do you recall where he came out of from the house?
He came out the front door.
Okay. When he exited the house, what did you guys have him do?
I gave him commands to come towards us and then have a seat on the curb.
Okay. So there's just two of you officers still at this point?
Yes.
What did you do at this point?
I decided to go check for anybody that was injured inside and clear the house, make sure there was nobody else in there.
Okay. What did Officer Krautheim do?
I believe he started speaking to the gentleman that we had come out the house.
So he stayed outside
Yes,
and you went into the house?
yes, ma'am.
When you talk about clearing the house, can you tell us what that means? What do you do?
We just wanted to make sure that if anyone needed aid rendered to them, we could render aid to them, or if there are any more suspects in the residence, that we could try to apprehend them.
Does that mean that you walked through the entire house?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And all that's when your body cam is on?
Yes, ma'am.
When you first entered that house, can you describe for us what you saw when you walked in that front door?
Yeah, initially when I walked in, it opened up into like a day room or something like that, and just off to the right, I saw somebody laying on the ground, motionless.
Did you notice anything about that room?
It was empty,
So no furniture?
no furniture, yeah, it was just an empty room.
The person that you saw to the right, male or female?
Male.
And can you describe how you saw him laying on the ground?
Yeah, he was laying on his back, I believe with both of his hands to his side, motionless. And then I went over to him to check his pulse.
Is that standard for police to check the welfare of any potential victims?
Yes.
When you checked the pulse, did you find one?
No.
Did you notice anything else about this victim?
Yeah, I noticed that there were 2 apparent gunshot wounds to his chest area, and there was blood pooling in like his kind of like neck collar area.
Did he appear to still be alive to you?
No.
As part of your job, both with your prior experience in Illinois and your experience here in Arizona, have you seen deceased people before?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you think this person was dead?
Yes, ma'am.
If you didn't think he was dead, are police trained to do CPR?
Yes, ma'am. We're all certified to.
Would you have done that if you believed that would have helped him?
Absolutely.
So even though a person appears deceased to you, is fire still called out to check on them?
Yes.
Why is that?
They go through their own process and procedures, and I believe they usually give the official time of death.
Okay. Did you notice anything else in that room where that male was lying?
I can't think of anything right now, no.
Do you recall seeing any projectiles on the ground near the victim?
Objection, leading.
It's a yes or no question.
I believe I did, yes.
Okay. When you walked in the house after you saw this male on the ground, did you continue through the house?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that to clear it?
Yes.
And will paramedics or fire come in if you haven't cleared the house yet?
Usually, no.
So they want to make sure it's okay as well?
Yes.
After you cleared the house, did you, or as you were clearing the house, did you ever locate any weapons?
Yes, I believe we located a firearm in one of the back bedrooms.
Okay. Did you touch that in any way?
I don't recall.
Okay. After you cleared the house, did fire enter?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did fire do?
They began to try to render aid to the victim.
By the time fire came in, were other officers now on scene?
Yes.
Were you still wearing and recording with your body cam?
Yes, ma'am.
Does the body cam, you told us that it's on your shoulder, does it always show where you're looking?
No.
So your eyes or your head can be turned to a different direction than what the camera is actually
Yeah,
showing?
if I was turning talking to the judge, my camera would be facing the crowd.
I want to show you a video. And if I can have my paralegal bring that up and have him identify it. And sir, if you can just look at that and let me know if you recognize that as your body cam minus the audio of it.
Yeah, that's my body cam.
Do you recognize that as you in it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have previously watched that?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, the state will move to admit exhibit number 2, I believe. Exhibit number 2 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Two is admitted.
And Your Honor, if we may publish it.
You may. It's also right there.
So this is the house you're walking up to, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
As you're talking to dispatch?
Yes.
And this is the individual that is coming out that you asked dispatch to have come out?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that Officer Krautheim in the back?
It is.
Are you announcing
Yes, ma'am.
that standard?
Yes.
That where you checked to see if this male had a pulse?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the weapon that you told us that you found?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you letting people know on your radio that you found a weapon?
I believe so, yes.
You told us that other officers were arriving.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what we see here happening?
Yes.
And is fire also starting to come in?
I believe they were right behind him, yes.
But you continued to clear the rest of the house?
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we see there?
It appears that the fire is rendering aid to the victim, or attempting to.
Were you walking around trying to find identification for the individual on the ground?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to ever find an identification for him?
I was not.
So no wallet laying around,
No.
no ID in his pocket?
I didn't check his pockets, but no, I don't think fire found one.
So you're kind of talking with them to let them know who this is as well?
Yes,
Because they're documenting it.
yes.
And is that the individual who came out with the phone from the house?
Yes, ma'am.
The one that dispatch and 911 told to come out?
Yes.
When you were interacting with him there, what was his demeanor like?
He was extremely calm.
You told us that you were looking for the wallet for this individual. Did it seem unusual to you that you couldn't find one?
I wouldn't say it was unusual. I didn't know if he lived there or not, so I just kind of looked around to see if there was anything laying around.
Is this you still trying to see if there's anything in the residence that might be related to that individual?
I think I was just giving Officer Cohen a recap of what I already went and looked through.
And I've shown defense counsel or defendant exhibits 3 and 4. I have a paralegal, and goes to up to the officer to review as well. Do you recognize those as sort of screenshots of two different views during your body cam footage?
Yes.
State will move to admit exhibits 3 and 4.
Any objection?
No objection.
3 and 4 admitted.
And if I may publish them. So in this photo, when you were looking at it, were you able to see here's where you are checking to see the pulse of this individual?
Yes, ma'am.
And did this also reflect what you had talked about of the blood pooling that had run towards his neck area?
Yes.
Exhibit 4. Is this sort of when we first see you walk back in and we see fire working on the individual?
Yes.
You told us that when that individual who was on the call with 911 came out, that you observed the phone with him. He was kind of holding it.
Yeah.
Did you ever see any other phone in the house as you were looking around? Anything obvious laying around?
I don't recall, no. I don't believe I did.
No phone on the ground near the deceased male?
Not that I recall, no.
After you had cleared the house, allowed fire to enter, and other officers were arriving, were you tasked with going out to put up some crime scene tape?
Yes, ma'am.
What does that mean?
It's just tape that keeps the general public out, keeps the media out, so we have a secure scene, and it doesn't get tainted by anybody or anything.
So that included both the house and some of the street.
Yes, ma'am.
Did that sort of end your involvement?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, cross-examination.
It's Sergeant Wierzbicki, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I like to get that right. Okay. You said that the individual exiting the house was nonchalant. Is that correct?
I don't know if I used those words, but he seemed very calm, yes.
Very calm.
Yes.
Is that the same thing to you as nonchalant?
I wouldn't use that word, so I would say he looked very calm and unbothered.
But you said nonchalant a minute ago.
I don't recall saying that.
Okay. Does everyone act the same in a stressful situation that you've experienced? No? Are you qualified to give someone a psychological evaluation?
No.
No. You put your hand on my husband's neck for checking for a pulse, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you did when you first came in?
Yes.
Did you perform CPR?
No.
No. Why not?
Because it was apparent to me that he was deceased.
And that's not your protocol?
To what?
To perform CPR until fire comes in?
Not if it's going to make it even worse because they had apparent gunshot wounds to the chest.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if I start pumping on his chest, it's going to start spewing blood out of his chest even at a more rapid pace.
So when the 911 operator was telling my brother to do that, that same thing would happen?
All depends on when the call came into dispatch.
But I'm saying if you're doing CPR on someone with a gunshot wound in the chest, on the chest.
Could, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you said something else. You said fire gives official time of death. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that time of death? Do you know?
I do not recall.
And you cleared the house before fire came in, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you were looking for some kind of identification?
When
Yes.
I cleared the house,
Yes.
I was looking for other potential victims and/or suspects.
Okay. But you were told on the phone that no one else was in the house but Alex. Is that correct?
I don't recall if I was told that or not.
Okay. Do you have any crime scene investigation experience?
Just my 20 years of experience as a police officer.
And you said something about, and this is just for me to understand, you said something about the casings being to the left of him or to the right of him?
I didn't say they were to the left or to the right.
Oh, did you say west or east?
No.
Sorry, that was my interpretation. Can you tell me what the weapon was that you found?
It was a handgun.
Was it a 45?
Don't recall.
Okay. Could you tell what direction the bullet came from?
Based off the way the body was laying, I could assume it came from where his feet were at.
Near the feet? Mm-hmm. Did you see the projectile that was in the baseboard?
I don't recall if I saw that or not.
You said he did not appear alive, that you already thought that he was deceased. Is that correct, when you entered into the house?
Yes.
And what time was that?
I believe I was dispatched to the call at 8:41. So, I mean, if I was going to make a guess on what time I walked into the house, I would say I was probably at the residence within 10 minutes.
So around 8:51, perhaps?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. And then when fire took over, is that the normal protocol for fire to take over and do the CPR?
Yes.
And so you didn't do CPR, but they did do the CPR. Is that correct?
Yes.
On top of the gunshot wound.
Yes.
Is that normal protocol?
I don't know what their protocol is.
Okay. I'm just asking because I wouldn't think to do that either. And then you said that you went outside to put up the crime scene tape. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So after you cleared the house, you left and went to the front yard?
Yes.
And then you were there for how long at the residence before you left?
I couldn't give you a time.
Did you stay for a while, or was that the end of your job there?
I don't recall. It was a long time ago. I have no idea how long I was actually on scene for.
And who is your direct supervisor?
I believe that day was Sergeant Nocella.
I'm sorry, what was the last name?
Nocella?
Okay. And what contact did you have with Detective Moffat that day?
I don't know if I had any with him on scene.
Okay, what about Detective England, perhaps?
I may have briefly spoke to her while I was on scene.
Okay, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times?
I couldn't tell you a number.
Okay. And then when you have to report to your superior before you left the scene?
He was on scene, I would imagine.
Nocella? Is
Yes.
that what you said? Okay. And then you don't know what time you left, but you arrived at approximately 8:51?
Give or take, yes.
And then did you see me arrive at the scene?
I think as I was leaving, yes.
So approximately around the time that I arrived, you were leaving?
I don't know if I left when you arrived, but I was on my way out of the crime scene as far as I know.
Okay. And then you said something about 2 wounds. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how did you see the 2 wounds through the shirt?
Just was an observation that I made when I saw him laying on the ground.
So did you see 2 holes in the shirt?
I'm not sure exactly what I saw when I was there, but I could see that there were 2 apparent gunshot wounds to his chest.
And then I'm sure, well, I won't speak for you. So when they began CPR, they did open his shirt. Is that correct?
I have no idea.
Because when you walked by, his shirt was open.
Objection to question.
Yeah, please ask questions only.
Did you discuss this case with Sergeant Nocella?
I don't believe so. I would imagine he was on scene and he got briefed by the detectives.
He got briefed by the detectives? Is that what you
In
said?
fact, I would imagine, yes.
Okay. And then have you spoken to the case agent on this case? How many times would you say?
Who's the case agent?
Oh, Detective Duncan. That's my
Detective
understanding.
Duncan? I mean, I've spoken to him many times in my career.
Regarding this case, how many times do you think you've spoken to Detective Duncan?
I couldn't even put a number on it. I would say very few.
Very few? Like, how many would you guess?
I would say maybe 5 times.
5 times. Thank you. And would that be in-person kind of discussions or?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say they were discussions, probably just in passing.
Okay. So how many times have you emailed with Detective Duncan concerning this case?
Objection to relevance.
Overruled, you can answer if you know.
I have no idea.
What about text messages?
No idea.
Phone calls?
Ma'am, I have no idea.
Okay. And your report that you wrote about this, about how long after the incident did you make your report?
I was done by the end of my work shift at 4 o'clock.
And then did you ever make any revisions to that report?
I don't believe so.
So you left the scene approximately sometime in the morning, and by 4 o'clock that day you had written your report. Is that
Yes.
correct? And you've never changed anything on your report?
Not that I recall, ma'am.
And the report is exactly as you left it when did you review it for this testimony today?
Yes.
And it was exactly the same as when you wrote it at 4 PM on July 11th?
I don't know if I wrote it at 4 PM. It was
Or
done
by 4 p.m.?
but It appears to be, yes.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
All right, redirect.
Sergeant, you were asked about the shooter's demeanor. Were you just telling us what you observed?
Yes.
What did you observe?
I just observed him very calm and collected after just shooting somebody.
And that's both seeing him come out as well as having some interaction with him on the curb?
Yes, ma'am.
When a person is been shot and you check for a pulse and you believe they are deceased, as a police officer, are you supposed to touch the body?
No.
Is the body basically a crime scene?
Yes.
Based upon your training and experience, did you believe that the victim was deceased?
Yes, ma'am.
Do fire have EKG heart monitors and things that they use to determine if maybe you missed a pulse?
Yes, ma'am.
When you talked about giving CPR, if an individual is now a crime scene, would giving CPR to that deceased person change the crime scene?
Yes.
And so as someone who believed the person was deceased, you did not want to modify or change the crime scene?
Correct.
You were asked about the gun. Is the gun part of the crime scene?
Yes.
Were you responsible for processing the crime scene?
No.
Why didn't you go in there and pick it up and start handling it?
because I didn't want to alter where it was laying when he got done using it.
You were asked a lot about when 911 was called, when you were dispatched. This was a few years ago,
Several, yes.
2019.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there something called a CAD report that documents when 911 was called, when you were dispatched, when you arrived, and even when you left?
Yes, ma'am.
Would looking at the CAD report help refresh your recollection as to when those events occurred?
Yes.
If I may have my paralegal provide him with a copy of the CAD report.
You want me to?
Starting, does looking at the CAD report help refresh your recollection as to when the 911 call was received?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
It was received at 8:36.
Does looking at the CAD report help refresh your recollection as to when you were dispatched?
It appears it was dispatched at 8:37.
So your memory of saying 8:50 or so was perhaps incorrect.
Yes.
Was looking at the CAD report indicate when you arrived?
8:43.
So again, that was a little earlier than your memory was.
Yes, ma'am.
And does looking at the CAD report help determine or refresh your recollection as to when you left the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
It's 5:31 p.m.
As a police officer who is one of the first on scene, do you provide briefing or information to your sergeant or the detectives on scene as to what you saw, observed, and did?
If they ask me directly, yes, somebody will brief them that's on scene.
But you have to provide somebody that information to then provide to the detectives?
Yes.
Why is it done that way?
Because usually a supervisor is going to want to know what's going on and what we did, just so the detectives know exactly what they're walking into.
So for instance, if you had to move the gun, they would want to know that, right?
Yes,
Or if you had moved the body, they would want to know that too, right?
yes,
And if you had found any evidence, would they want to know that as well?
absolutely.
And so is that what you would have to do that day when you are speaking to sergeant or detectives?
Yes.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Does any member of the jury have a question for this witness? If so, please write it on the provided form. I'm not seeing any questions come down. You can step down, sir. All right, the state can call its next witness.